a river attended my way when sorrows like sea billows roll. Whatever, my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be beside the clouds be rolled back as a scroll. The trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
Happy Sabbath. I hope we're all doing well and we've been having an awesome time. So, yeah, welcome to the ninth episode of A Story of Unfulfilled Dreams. I hope you're excited as I am. I'm always excited, and I hope we are all safe. We're all safe wherever we are. So, yeah, today, for our introduction, we're going to be looking at Luke chapter 5 from verse 1 up to verse 10. I'll read in your hearing. Verse 1. So it was as the multitude pressed about him to hear the word of God that he stood by the lake of Gennesaret and saw two boats standing by the lake, but the fishermen had gone from them and were washing their nets. Then he got into one of the boats, which was Simon's, and asked him to put out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the multitudes from the boat. Verse 4. When he had stopped speaking, he said to Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. Thank you, Samantha. We see you. Yes, we're waiting for you. Verse 5 says, but Simon answered and said to him, Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, I will let down the net. Verse 6, and when they had done this, they caught a great number of fish, and their net was breaking. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both the boats so that they began to sink. Verse 8, when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. Verse 9, for he and all who were with him were astonished, and the catch of fish which they had taken. Verse 10, and so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, do not be afraid. From now on, you will catch men. Okay, so this is a popular story, and I'm sure we all know it, but there's a bit that I want us to know and understand. So this is Simon Peter. Jesus needs to talk to the crowd. He borrows one of the sheep that he finds lying there, which happens to be Simon's. Excuse me. And as he uses that boat, at the end, they catch this whole great amount of fish. And after that, now they're wondering, oh my goodness, this kind of guy. And Peter even says, depart from me, for I'm a sinful man, after what he had seen happen. And after that, this is what happens now. After he's seen this happen, Jesus then says, you know what, you've only caught fish. I'm going to make you catch men. So probably Peter would be like some of us, or like me, who has been struggling for a long time. But where is my space? Where is my space in society, in God, the ministry of God? You're like, what is really my place in ministry? But God, Jesus, in this instant, comes and says he's gonna deal with Peter in the language he understood. So he knew how to catch fish. And God says, you know what? You're going to catch men. And sometimes in our lives, we try to find somewhere, so our purpose, our mission from a plethora of places that are so far from who we are, but not realizing that God can actually bring something amazing from who we actually are and from what we know and what we've always known. So, maybe you're wondering where I'm going with this. Today, as you've seen the title says Finding Nosizo. So, I'm excited. I have a guest all the way from Kontu to Ziatuma. I hope I don't mess this. All the way from Blues. So welcome, Nosizo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to have you here on the show as we discover how you were on a mission to find yourself and how you just got comfortable and found yourself turning things into gold from the basic things that you've always known. It's amazing. The same way I was saying, all Peter knew was to catch fish. And in the end, Christ says, "How you catch men?" Because that is all Peter knew. So who is Nosizo Choga?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Nosizo Choga is a woman who was born in a very small village called Chingesaka in Kezi. I'm a mother of 4, 2 girls and 2 boys, and I am a CEO and founder of Foursquare Events, an events company that specializes in event solutions for corporates and individuals.
Wow. Thank you so much. We have a big person here. Thank you so much for joining the show and for accepting the invitation to be part of us. So yeah, now you've said you're the CEO of Foursquare's events, and I think these days events have been dipping. So the first time you heard about this program, a show called A Story of Unfulfilled Dreams, what came to mind? What was the first thing you thought of when you heard of that title? A Story of Unfulfilled Dreams.
Okay. So what came into my mind is that when we're young, when we're growing up, life is not what it actually is or what it actually turns out to be. When you grow up, you've got this picture in your head of how your life will roll out. You have it kind of mapped out. I remember with myself in the rural areas, I had this dream. I I grew up thinking that I would go to school, I'll pass, and then I'll have a perfect job. That's what everyone was drilling in my head. That's what everyone was just saying, and I got to believe it. And I lost my mother at a very young age, and I was depressed for the longest of times. And I remember what consoled me during those times was that, God is someone that turns stories into joy. He always does it in the Bible. And I knew exactly how God would turn my story
Wow.
around. And I knew that because I was so intelligent, I thought, you know what? This is my only path. I'll pass and I'll go to university. I'll get a high flying job. I knew it without a shadow of a doubt that that was my path. So I know that life just takes so many turns that we don't expect, but sometimes God will be leading us somewhere.
Wow.
That's what
Thank you
came
so
to
much.
mind.
Wow. Thank you so much. Yeah, life sometimes it can be a story of unfulfilled dreams. But yeah, we're not here to glorify the dreams that don't get fulfilled, but to glorify the God of even the new dreams that He gives us, the new shapes, the new directions that He sometimes gives us that we may not have seen coming. So yeah, so as a young girl, you mentioned about going to university, have a good job. What? As a young girl, what did you dream of becoming when you're a young girl? What did you think? What did you see yourself? You know.
Um, to tell the truth, I don't know exactly what I wanted to be. I think I was one of those girls that one time I would say I want to be a doctor, the next I want to be a teacher. When I was young, being a teacher was great. And sometimes I'll be like, maybe I want to be an engineer, but the path passed through school
It was an
and passed
academic.
through. Yes, my path was there, but I didn't have like a dream. I just thought that I'll go to school when I get to O level, then A level, then somehow I'll figure out, then university, then boom, get a job.
I know, and know a lot of youngsters out there were confused. Were at some point like, I'll do this, I'll do that. But I actually want to applaud you that even though you were growing in that remote village in Kezi, you actually had an idea that there's a doctor, there's an engineer. There's a time when I was actually temporary at some school, and I remember I used to teach this primary school children, and I'll be like, what do you can't you're failing to read this? What do you want to do when you grow up? And some child told me, I want to herd cattle, I want to wash plates. That is all they knew. I'm like, no, my children, the world is out there. There are many things that you can be. And yeah, it was actually close to children. Some would be like, I want to be a cane cutter, like to cut sugar cane. Because that is all they knew. So the one time I had this child who was like, I want to be a soldier. I'm like, okay, at least he actually knows that there's a soldier. You can be a soldier. So yes, at least you have an idea that you could be all these other things. Okay. Anyway, I talked too much. Back to our story. So, like we're saying, have this dream of being an academic, etc., and following this academic pathway and stuff like that. Have you managed to fulfill those things in the way that you hope them they hold? Like, did you have set timelines for your things? And if not, please kindly share with us the impediments before we also get into the story. Has these things been have they been fulfilled?
No, they it didn't actually roll out as I expected, because when my mother passed away, our family really struggled, and I come from a family of 11. So
Oh,
my dad was struggling to provide for us. So I didn't have enough money to go to school. So our social welfare is used to pay for us. So I was still intelligent, and I hoped against all hopes that I'm going to pass. But come my O levels, I wrote 6 subjects because that's the maximum that the social welfare could pay for. And then I got 4 subjects. And I was very, very disappointed because that wasn't in my plan. I mean, according to the plan I had in my head, God was supposed to just come through for me because I had just suffered so much. And I should mention this, that I used to go to school with a tattered school uniform. If you've been to a school where you wear a pleated school uniform, if you can't afford, you'll learn how to turn around the pleats such that the torn part goes inside and you look like you're wearing another new uniform. And my shoes, they didn't look the same because my dad would go around dump sites picking shoes, and sometimes they wouldn't match. The right shoe and the left shoe didn't look the same. So I was so broke. I mean, we were broke in our family, and sometimes I would sell popcorns at school. And I was just hoping, okay, when will this end? I mean, I should pass and move on, and life should change for us. Even the neighbors, when they looked at us, they were saying, at least you are intelligent. I mean, that's how you come out of this. But then I failed. After failing, I I rewrote, and then I I passed. I got my 5 O levels. Then I had no one to pay for my A levels, and I did them at home and got 3 A levels, 3 points, and then started doing CIS, an accounting course. But then I think it was in my area because I really struggled with it. Then I got a job as a clerk, and I was terrible at it as well. And I think if I didn't resign, I was going to be fired. So I resigned, and then started a business in making invitation cards, which then progressed into event decor.
Okay, wow. Wow. I love your honesty. Like few people can admit that I was not good. So I was going to be fired. But it's all right. So yeah, so here we are. We like you had said you hoped you're just going to ace your subject, A level, varsity, but there's no money and you failed to make it as you hoped you could. So now we today we're talking about now finding yourself, finding Nosizo. Forgive me. Yes, finding Nosizo. So let's zoom in to the period then that you got to the time that you got to be on the path to self-discovery, discovering who you are and who God wants you to be until you then found yourself in this event deco. I mean, Ekaya, I don't know if people do deco kumusha. How did that journey begin now? Yeah, how did we land there? We've accepted you, at least you got to a point where you accept, yeah, this is not my road. It's something that is hard to accept with yourself. This is not for me. Sometimes we, of course, it's good to try, you should not give up, but then you're like, no, I think this one is not it. So yeah, let's go towards that direction. How
Okay.
did you then start on this new path?
Okay. So when I started in events industry, I don't know if I mentioned, when you grow up in the rural areas, your self-esteem is so low because we always see the town guys coming to the rural areas. We look up to them. We want to be them, and you look so down upon yourself, and you don't think there's anything that you can do. And so when I started my business, I still had low self-esteem because events industry is a glamorous industry. It's high
Mhm.
there, and I was coming from down here. So what I did at the beginning, I would just copy what other event companies were doing.
How
I
did you
will
even think
sometimes.
of events to start with? Let's start with how did you think of events? Because you just ended up telling us how you resigned from being a clerk. Where did that mindset come from to start with?
Okay, so when I started doing invitation cards. I would just do invitation cards, tie cards that I tie with a ribbon and print in black and white and sell, and people would like them. And then it went on like that. People would request different cards, and then when I got an opportunity to open a shop, I thought, this one won't work. I did clothes. I was just buying and selling clothes, but I thought to myself, it's not nice. Everyone sells clothes. What can I do different? So I thought, since I'm already doing cards, let me try deco. I mean, it can't be so difficult. And then I just hanged a few clothes in the shop and said, I do deco. And then luckily, one person came by and said, can you do deco for me? And I was like, yes. And then that's how I started. But so when I started, I wasn't creative or anything. I'll just copy what other people used to do because I didn't think I had anything. I
What
didn't
it
have I
takes.
had what it takes until 2, 3 years down the line, my business was going down and I was failing. and I had to sit down with myself and ask myself,
Again.
okay, what can you do? I mean, you're failing at this. You're obviously not good at it, and the events industry, like I said, it's high end, and you have to really invest in it to make it. And I didn't have the money to invest in it, so I thought to myself, what is it that I have that I could offer the events industry? Then that's the point where I sat down and really looked at myself and said, you know what, you you always think that you are bad for this industry because you grew up in the rural areas and you grew up poor. But what if you look at that in another way? What are the advantages of growing up poor? What are the advantages of growing up in the rural areas? Then I noticed that, people who grew up poor and who grew up in the rural areas are very creative. You can't take that away from us because almost all the time you are thinking of a solution. Maybe let's say you run out of Vaseline when you're going to school. You have to think of a way like, okay, how can I make myself good without Vaseline? Then you take cooking oil and mix with soap. If you've got scented soap, the better. So we always know, we always have our way around this. And I was so excited that, you know what, I'm actually so creative because growing up poor and growing up in the rural areas, there's just so many examples on a day-to-day basis. You have
I'm
to be
actually
creative about
remembering.
something.
Yeah, I'm actually remembering some point. I think my grandmother used to tell me that you can heat sugar if you don't
Mm.
have tea bags, and the tea will be
Mm,
black.
yes,
You know.
yes, yes. So that's when I then thought to myself, you know what? I don't have money to buy all these fancy centerpieces and what. So I decided, you know what? Sometimes I'll just use logs as centerpieces, and they will look beautiful. And when I started being creative using these logs and dried flowers and what, it wasn't because I wanted to be creative. It was because I didn't have money to buy the things I should have bought. But then the clients were like, wow, you're so creative. In my mind, I'm like,
This is all I am. This is all I am. I know. It's all I know.
yes,
Wow.
yeah.
I can imagine. Interesting. So, how did you get to know that from, like you're saying to your clients, "Oh, this is so creative." Did you even know that it's called drastic to start with, or you you are just
I,
decorating them?
you know what? When I started, I didn't know that it's rustic, but I thought of ideas. I said, you know what? I think you can decorate with logs, and and then I'll look up on internet decors with logs, and I'll be so amazed with, wow, there's so much someone can do with logs. And then I'll look up dried flowers. So recently I discovered that the cornflowers, maize, that those flowers that come on top of maize. So I realized they're so pretty. I have them. Some are painted in pink, some yellow. I decorate with them. And I noticed that they are sold in other countries. So it's like, when I'll discover something, I'll Google it up or go on Pinterest and then see these many ideas, then just use them. Sometimes I wouldn't maybe go on Pinterest, but I'll just create something that is neat and beautiful, and people will just love it. They will be so amazed.
Wow, wow, wow. I can imagine. And here you are, you're probably thinking, where do I start? I'm failing at this, I'm failing at that. And I think it's more like the Moses kind of scenario where Moses is like, I don't even know what to speak, I don't even know what to say. And God says, what do you have? What do you know? Yeah, what do you have, what you know? So shortly the pictures are going to be displayed just now. But yeah, I'm sure we have a look at what she does, what she specializes in. So how big is how have you found this industry? Like you're saying it's been glamorous and you've been you thought initially you couldn't so settle into it. So with this appreciation, I'm sure you bit by bit you got to find your space in there. But while you as you answer how you got to settle in the industry and to find your space, I want you to tell me during this period, as you went through all these failures from your O level, your A level, your CIAs, the clerical job, the small initial company, how did you get to a point where you questioned your capabilities and self-worth during this period? And if so, uh, what lessons did you garner during this period? How did this reflect on yourself? Did you then say, oh my goodness, I used to think I'm intelligent, but it turns out I'm not so smart? How did this affect you? Yeah, I think you mentioned things to do with esteem at the beginning. So how did you deal with this?
Okay. So for me, what really helped me is that even after I had kids, we're still struggling, financially. So for me, it wasn't like I had this drive to to run a business. I was forced by the fact that
Circumstance.
I had to fend for myself, I had to fend for my kids. So I think that's the desire that God put in me, because on my own, with my low self esteem, there was no way I was going to start a company. There was no way I was going to push. So God made me not have enough, and so that I push and I look at myself and say, what can I do? What is it that I can use? So being poor is what forced me, and I had to just fight to fend for my family. That's when I keep discovering myself, and my self esteem, I've been gathering it bit by bit over time. There was no time where I was like, wow, I feel great. No way. I had to do things scared. I had to implement some of these scared. I remember I got a tender to design an exhibition stand for RBZ, and I had to put my dried logs in their design as well. And I was just crossing my fingers. So when I was discussing with their marketing person, they're like, we're not feeling this. We don't see it working. But but I had to do these things scared. And I tell you, their stand in banks in that year got second place. It
Wow.
was it was one of the second best design stand during that
Wow.
time.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Wow. It's amazing how God can bring out of the things that we look down upon and we don't think anything good can come out of it. Even the Bible says the stone that builders rejected became the cornerstone. So yeah, reflecting back. So tell me, what are the lessons that you learned during this period, during this journey that was not so fun, losing your parents, going through all these failures, trying to fend for your family, these dreams that one moment you want to be there, next moment it's shattered and stuff like that. So what did you learn during this process?
Okay. So there are just many lessons that I learned. Number one, I think God has given each and every person something. So the problem is, maybe when you come from a poor background, or when you come um, from the rural areas, we look down upon yourself. So what happens when you look down upon yourself? you just discount everything that is associated with you. But sometimes God puts you in that place because He knows there's treasure in that. Sometimes you go through problems because God knows from that problem you're going to discover something, you're going to be someone. So we shouldn't look down upon ourselves. We shouldn't look down upon our experiences. We should pick the treasures that God has planted for us in all the experiences that we go through and shine with that.
Wow. Wow, thank you. So we shouldn't shy with all the treasures that God gives us, you know. We just God has so many things, and I'm actually learning from your experience. Our times we ourselves want to shy, we are ashamed with who we are. At times I can't stand. I'm like, what will people say if they hear this is who Ursula is? But the confidence that you have to just say, this is me. I'm just going to do me. When they give me a chance, I'm just going to shine in my person, to stand in who I am and shine either way. So yeah. So what kept you motivated during this period? What kept you motivated as you like, because you talked of so many discouragements, disappointments and stuff. So yeah, those are some of the examples of her work. I'm sure we can appreciate the artistry from a person who just knows the trees in the rurals and stuff like that. But it's amazing how someone can get to a place where they bring so much art. And yes, those maze thing is I actually love that design. So yeah, take us through what kept you motivated? What kept you going? I know you've mentioned the poverty to start with, that you're an option. There's a circumstances. What else kept you going?
Okay, so I think for me, it's God. God just had a different method to keep me motivated at any given point. So at one point, it was poverty. I just had to do what I had to do so that I get through to the next day. But then I got to a point where I realized that, you know what? There's so much treasure in who I am. There's so much treasure in being poor, in coming from the rural areas. And right now, my motivation now is to tell my story and to motivate other people that come maybe from a background like mine to say, you know what, you can do it. You can be successful. So the motivations are different at any stage, and I think I'm grateful that God has really given me different motivations for different seasons. And right now, I know as I stand here, I keep telling myself, Nosizo, you have to make your business work. You have to be successful because there is a rural girl somewhere there who's looking up at you, and if you give up they'll be disappointed. If you keep pushing, one day they won't look down upon themselves. They will say, you know what, we also have what it takes. They will start businesses in the rural areas. They will harvest those maize flowers and paint them pink and sell them. So right now my motivation is to just preach this hope, like your situation is not hopeless. I mean, there is something that God has for you in that situation. Do not look down upon yourself.
Yeah, true, true. And I'm also learning that our paths are definitely not the same. Like what you're
Mm.
saying, initially you thought your path is going to be just following the academic route, go shine, go work in an office, and turns out the office job was actually not working for you. And it's okay. It's okay when even you can't be in that space, but still you can still flourish in a space that feels home, that feels like this is who you are you know yeah. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
I get your motivation, and it's amazing how God sometimes gives us this little tokens of appreciation, the tokens of grace, and stuff like that. So if you could be in conversation with the young Nosizo back then, I don't know if you want to talk to her in stages, be it the Nosizo who had lost mommy, the Nosizo who was aiming at passing and failed to get the 5 O levels all at once, or the Nosizo who was who found yourself in the clerical job, was thought the CIS was the thing. If you could be in conversation with your younger self, what would you tell yourself? What would you say?
I'll tell her that she is enough. You don't need to be educated to be someone. You don't need to move to a bigger city. You don't need to move to maybe a well-developed country. You are enough. You just have to trust God enough. The fact that you were born in Zimbabwe, it means you should be in Zimbabwe and you should shine here. That's why God didn't take you and you were born anywhere else. Be content with yourself and shine. This is it. I mean, this is what, just trust God.
Wow. And I'm thinking now. I started laughing when you say the fact that you're born in Zimbabwe, it means you're destined to be in Zimbabwe. And I know almost a lot of people in this country, all they're aiming at is just leaving this country. They can't stand being in Zim and stuff like that. And here you are. So yeah, it's actually possible to shine. Yeah, you don't always have to know all the books there is to know, but God can still work in you and through you in whatever the small things that you think you know. I'm thinking of the disciples back then as they preach, and people are like, what? Where do these guys know what they're speaking about? But God can still work miraculously. I'm amazed at the art and the creativity that we saw there. That, oh my goodness, who would have thought that this was stemming from ideas from what someone just knew, from all they knew from the rural areas. So wow, this is amazing. So what would be your parting words to the audience? What would be your parting words? I hope I didn't leave anything else that you wanted to say, or if I did, you're free to say it.
Okay, so I think my parting words will be we need to believe in ourselves and believe in the God that put us where we are. Imagine if David didn't believe in himself. If David looked down upon everything that he wasn't even going to use that sling to aim at Goliath. But the fact that David was like, you know what, I might be short, I might be not experienced, I might not have the same armor as you, I might not be as tall as you, but you know what? When it comes to slinging, I am the it. I am the it, and I'm gonna use it against you. You see? So you need to say, you know what? I mean, I might not be educated, I might not be living in a glamorous country, but when it comes to creativity, I'm the it.
Oh, I
I
know.
am. You should have that thing that you say, when it comes to this is my
This is
turf,
where
this is my area, I shine. You should be able to look at yourself and say, when it comes to this, you guys just stop. It's my turf. This is where I do my things. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. I love the positivity and the energy that, you know what, we need to have a space that I say, this is my space. And God has indeed given us so much things. We have so much to be grateful. God has so many ways that He can work in us and through us, and to ultimately bring the goodness of His mercy. So yeah, thank you so much, Nosizo, for agreeing to be part of our show, and I'm grateful. I, for one, have already learned so much, and I'm sure the audience too has they've learned so much from you. So as we come to a close, I'm going to read a quote that we have here from the book Thoughts from the Mount of Blessings. That is page 140, paragraph 2. So the quote says, I'm just relating to what you had to go through, all those disappointments. Sometimes you wonder how someone wakes up, and dust themselves up and carries on after that. But still, God gave you the courage and the strength to still stand and keep standing. So our quote says, the road may be rough and the ascent steep. There may be pitfalls from the right hand and upon the left. We may have to endure toil in our journey. When weary, when longing for rest, we may have to toil on. When faint, we may have to fight. When discouraged, we must still hope. But with Christ as our guide, we shall not fail of reaching the desired heaven at last. Christ himself has trodden the rough way before us and has smoothed the path of our feet. The path for our feet. So this is just reminding us how hard life can be, how tough we may have to, how the tough things that we may have to go through. Like it says, it may be rough, there may be a steep ascent, a lot of pitfalls, and stuff like that. But still, we have to endure all this toil in our journey. And still, even when we get weary, even when we want to rest, like you're saying, you're this financial things, you're tired, you're thinking all you need is to rest, but still actually say you may not even afford to rest. Like you're saying, your need to fend for your family, it just was too much. But still, amidst all that, God is still faithful and he still has so much for us, that he has in store for us. So thank you so much. And I'm sure we've learned so much. And I've been inspired personally. The times when you feel, this life is not going the way I want it. You think you're stuck and stuff like that. But God always has a purpose in our lives. So thank you so much, Nosizo, for joining and being part of our show today. I appreciate, and I've learned so much from you. So this marks the end of our episode today. And I hope, like me, a lot of the people out there have also learned so much from this experience of yours. So as always, we'll continue with our series, A Story of Unfulfilled Dreams. It's not just about glorifying the ugly pictures of where we come from. It's not about just glorifying how sad life can tend to be. I was actually saying sadly, life has no guarantees. At times you think because you've gone through this, life is going to change. Sometimes it actually does not change. The fact that your mom died does not guarantee, like in your case, it does not guarantee that you're going to pass. It was not guaranteed that your things are going to be smooth. It can actually just continue like that. But still, in spite of all these things, we still need to give each other hope. That's what this is about. It's not about glorifying the things, the uncertainties that we go through life, but just that God can still work these amazing things through us, and in the end we'll have these beautiful things. So thank you so much for agreeing to be part of us, and hope we'll continue working together in the future. So this marks the end of episode 9. Let's meet again next week on episode 10, same time, same place, on A Story of Unfulfilled Dreams. From your host, Eshlanora and Nosizo, it's bye for now.
When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever, my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well. So my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be silent.